in my home, the ultimate focus is that my children feel loved, that they have all of the encouragement to be exactly who they are, that they all feel this really deep sense of mom's got me, if nothing else, and it's going to be okay.
Welcome to Dear Food. My name is Ashley Cheney, and I love food. I love to make food. I love to eat food. I love to talk about making food. If it has to do with food, I am there. See, I actually believe that food has the power to transport us, not just to different places around the world, but also to different places within our memories. Whether it's a food that takes you back to your grandma's kitchen or that awesome crepe you had while visiting Paris, food is the great vehicle of our imagination. So, if you find yourself drooling over pictures of food on Instagram or watching hours of cooking shows, this show is for you. I created this podcast to connect with the emotional side of food and to be immersed in new cultures and dishes, not just through our belly, but most importantly, through our hearts. I am so excited to have you here. Let's dig in. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Dear Food. I am so excited about this week's episode, not just because it's a really fun topic, a really fun food, but because it's an opportunity for me to connect with someone that I haven't seen since high school. And I don't want to age myself, but that's been a little while, you guys. That's been a little while. So our guest this week is Felicia Brantner. She is, like I said, a good friend of mine from middle and high school. And, here's the thing. She's actually the person that inspired this entire podcast. So Felicia and I we grew up in Virginia, Chesterfield, Virginia, and I moved out to California literally the day I graduated high school. So I've been out here for almost 20 years. Yes, now you know how old I am. But I've been keeping up with most of my friends from Virginia really pretty much through social media. And Felicia's page is one that I absolutely love to go to. And the reason she inspired this podcast is because she is always posting these incredible meals. I mean, it's like the definition of food porn on her page. And she happens to be the mother of 5 children, okay? Five little boys. She had twins twice. Not like she wasn't trying to have twins. She wasn't trying for fertility. She just happened to have twins twice. She has an incredible family. She is I think that she's like the mother that everybody dreams of because she is so active in her kid's life. I mean, she is makes every day such a joy and so much fun. And she's always planning these really cool activities. And, what interests me a ton is the meals that she's serving her kids and her family. I mean, wow. So do be prepared. This episode is going to make you hungry. We talk a lot about really delicious foods that are full of comfort and, yes, butter, maybe some fat. Anyways, all delicious stuff. And it's just a joy. I love listening to Felicia for so many reasons. She kind of feels weirdly like a mother to me, even though she's the same age as me. And people in her community really, really say that about her too. She's lovingly known as Mama Fee to the kids in her neighborhood and also the adults that, without a care in the world, send their kids off to play with Mama Fee. So without further ado, I want to dive into today's episode with Mama Fee, all about hamburger steak. And if you don't know what hamburger steak is, you're going to find out. It's definitely a Southern food. Let's dive in. Hi, Felicia.
Hi.
We did it. We had some hiccups getting started, but it was so fun seeing your family life. This is the reason why I was so excited to have you on the show is this family life that you've created. You are a wonderful mother of 5. You are a professional working woman. You run a food pantry for the community around you. Yeah. And we start every show by asking each guest what's called the first taste. So do you, Felicia, remember the first food you ever remember tasting? Do you know what that food is?
Stuff that, oh God. Okay. I have a couple of really good stories.
Let's hear it.
Quick ones. So, I mean, I remember basic stuff. I mean, I'm not as a baby, but the first couple of dishes that really stood out to me, and then something that was really hilarious that I grew up. I don't know. You're gonna. This is terrible.
No, I love. Well, it's so fun. It's the most fun question to ask because it's hard to think back.
Very home. But I think one of the earliest things that I remember eating was really thinly. Again, I was poor when I grew up. We lived in West Virginia in a house that had 5 rooms. We had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room, and a bathroom, and that was it. And
That's more rooms than I have right now, by the way.
well, and you know what I mean, though, contextually speaking, it was just a really tiny little house, and it was on the side of a mountain in West Virginia. And I remember, if we went out onto the back, whatever, the back porch area, it was covered in like astroturf. And you'd look out over the back porch, and there was a valley down below, and there was a sawmill that was down off to the left, and just this giant valley that was over to the right, and really it was just all kind of uphill from the other side of my house. So this really sort of poor background. I remember eating pork chops. This very thinly sliced pork chops, and there really wasn't much to it. It was you had pork chops, and you had it. Everything was smothered in onions. Okay,
Sure,
that's just
yeah.
the way that it was. And if you didn't like it, you weren't part of the family. So so you'd have these really really thinly sliced pork chops with just salt, pepper, and garlic, some powdered garlic on it, and you'd have green beans with the exact same seasonings and onions. And then I'm telling you, by the time I was about 5 or 6, I could peel about 100 potatoes in an hour with a real knife and with a paring knife. And like
Wow.
having my having my children now, and I'm trying to just teach them how to do like just a regular peeler, and they're like, I don't understand it, Mom. I'm like, well,
Wow.
but then again, around that same age frame, I was making my own breakfasts and scrambled eggs and grilled cheese and all that kind of thing. I could do all of that.
That pork chop that you remember, do you remember who made it for you?
Definitely, it was, well, my mom and my Aunt Jenny, my great great Aunt Jenny. We lived with her in this house, and I mean, everything she made was cooked in fat. It was cooked in lard, and it was all very real butter and real stuff, real ingredients, not fake this and fake that. So yeah, and it was my mom and my Aunt Jenny for sure. Yeah.
Is that who you would say kind of introduced you? Like, how did you learn? I'm hearing you say peeling a potato when you're a kid, by the time you're 5 or 6 with a knife. And I'm thinking, who put a knife in your hands? And oh my God, as a mom, can you
That was
imagine?
definitely my Aunt Jenny.
Can you imagine? Tell me about that. Who taught you how to peel a knife
No, but
or
if
peel
you
a
were
potato?
with my Aunt Jenny, you were scared as hell of that lady. So you just did what she told you to do, and you didn't screw it up either. You get in trouble. So,
Did she teach you some ways of the kitchen, or who
oh yeah,
taught you to
yeah,
be in
for
the kitchen?
sure. Absolutely. I mean, well, again, I mean, she taught me how to grow a garden, and I mean, we always had beans and potatoes and tomatoes, and we had, gosh, peppers. We always had banana peppers. Oh God, and we had what's called ramps.
What's
Have you?
ramp?
Oh, that's
What's
a whole
ramp?
other thing. That's a very West Virginian onion, okay? And they are fragrant. If you thought like garlic was a fragrant thing, a ramp is something that you could smell on in your hair.
Oh,
Okay, you could just smell it for days. But they grow wildly up there too. So, but I just remember having a lot of ramps and stuff like that, and just we were onion people.
we
We
were
grew
onion.
our own garden. And she taught me how to pinch I mean, you could go through 1,000 beans in an hour. Yeah.
Have you always liked being in the kitchen? Like, did you like those times being in the kitchen with your aunt and your mom?
Yeah, and it's been very therapeutic, and there would always be times. There was a time where I really wanted to be just like my Aunt Jenny. I would everything about her. Well, my Aunt Jenny was a really kind of a salt of the earth, like not a ruffled bird, but a ruffled bird. And she'd tell me stories about how somebody would, she'd go to school with her brothers and sisters, and I think she had 10 brothers and sisters, and they grew up in German Valley in West Virginia, which was really country. And she would tell me about how she'd go to school and somebody would be making fun of one of her sisters, and she took her metal lunch bucket and sucked her in the mouth with it. And I'm thinking, can you imagine that in this day and age, if one child hit another child with a metal lunch bucket? What the hell would happen there?
I can't. I can't.
I know. It's just that's a whole different climate nowadays. But yeah, so I mean,
So your Aunt Jenny was your
I'm telling
dad's
you,
sister?
it was my dad's great aunt. Is that
Oh, okay.
right? Yeah, I
Okay.
think it was his like grandfather's sister is what it was. But she used to dip
Oh, she used
too.
to dip. Oh
She
boy.
used to dip too. And I for some reason I thought this was just I wanted to be like her.
Oh boy.
And
Oh
And I
boy.
was like, Aunt Jenny, if you're, I was like, you gotta give me some of that chew. And she's like, so she's like, all right, you come on in here. Let's go. And so she took me into the kitchen and she mixed me up this little can of cinnamon and sugar.
I
And
thought you were gonna say she mixed you
this
up
was
some
my chew. This was my dip can. This was my
Oh my god, I love that so much. I thought you were gonna
there was
say,
a summer where I walked around with the chaw and it was cinnamon and sugar. It was a very interesting time still that I required to chew it all. So
oh my gosh, wow. Well, she sounds like
yeah.
a very special woman, and she
Yes.
certainly must have
Yeah.
taught you well, not just in the kitchen, but in life.
You
With
did.
she sounds like a
Right.
great old bird to have in your
A
life.
great old yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into our food of the day, which
Yeah.
is something that I can't wait to talk about with you because I know it's really, really special dish for you. And I think for a lot of our listeners are not going to know what this dish is. So today's food of the day is hamburger steak. So
Mhm.
let's start off with what is hamburger steak?
So it's just super simple. It's hamburger. It's hamburgers that, of course, as we now know some history about where I was kind of telling instant history about sort of where this would come from. So naturally, it has onions in it. Everything has
Naturally.
onions. And I usually make hamburger steak with onions and peppers. It's almost like imagine like a mini meatloaf. It's kind of like that idea. Garlic, minced garlic, garlic powder, whatever you want to use in it. So it's a hamburger, and they're hamburgers, and you smother them with whatever vegetables you'd like. I mean, I could put zucchini and squash in it, and that would be the same thing too. And you can mix it up in the burger. You can just fry it in the pan with the burger. My Aunt Jenny, of course, used to put very greasy hamburgers in with additional lard, so you could do that. Because why
Yes.
not? More fat on fat, and so just extra good that way. And
So
then
like ground beef, you take the seasonings and any kind of vegetables like whatever, bell peppers,
mhm,
onion, mash it up to look like a hamburger or to look
yeah,
like a
we
steak?
call them monster burgers technically over here when we're not making them into hamburger steaks. So yeah, so you could do that. But I mean, most recently, so every year, my father died a couple of years ago, and one of the things that my children really wanted me to do was celebrate his birthday for those first couple of years, and so but we still do it. So a couple of days ago, the fourth is his birthday, we had hamburger steaks. That was the last thing. I remember that year I asked him, I said, what do you want, what do you want for your birthday? And he said, I want just one of an old fashioned home, country meal, and whatever that is, that's just fine. And I'm like, I got it. I
Yeah.
got you. That's fine. And so that's what I came over with because that was something we used to eat when we were growing up. And so, or when I was growing up. But you have the hamburger steak and you always make it with mill gravy, always. And I use the packet because the packet is just as good as making it from scratch. And sometimes it's even a little bit better because it has some nice supportive flavors in there that's already there. But God, don't
What
judge me.
I was gonna say, I think we need to know what mill gravy is because I don't know if I know what mill gravy is.
It's white country gravy.
White country gravy. Okay, so
It's
that's
just
like the creamy gravy, not the
It's a
brown
very
gravy.
creamy gravy. Yeah, and I mean, I believe you just do a roux to start and get it going, and I mean, that's how I've ever done it in the past. And then you add cream and milk and those sorts of things to get it going. But when you make it from the packet, I'm telling you, they have there's an element of salt in there that is just, I know.
MSG, baby. MSG.
This whole meal is just not.
Oh, it's healthy for your soul.
Yeah, it's good down home country cooking for sure. But yeah, I just love to use like a McCormick packet or
Yeah.
whatever they have. I mean, and I usually add, and again, no judgment, but I'll take some of my my hamburger grease and some of the chunks of onions that are left over in that, and I'll spoon it into the mill gravy, and to give it sort of the transfer of the complementary flavor of the hamburger with the hamburger steak. And I put a little extra salt, a little extra kosher coarse salt, and fresh ground black pepper in it. Then, and I usually always make it with either a baked potato or some mashed potatoes, just
Yum.
your good old fashioned, creamy mashed potatoes. I always put a little bit of sour cream in my mashed potatoes to make it a little bit richer.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
trick. I don't
Hmm.
do that. That's a great
Yeah.
trick.
Oh, anything, you know what? Most stuff like that, anything that you can put milk in, you can put heavy cream or sour cream in it, girlfriend. So
Heavy
just,
cream is
yeah,
that's my one trick for my cinnamon rolls that well,
yeah,
I guess now the world knows, but
yeah.
heavy cream on
Uh,
the second proof.
Right.
That's how you get that
Well, and
cinnabon.
and aside from baking, my rule is that anytime you add milk, flour, tomatoes to anything, you need extra salt. So I tend to add. You can imagine it's a little bit on the salty side, but it's still very good. And I usually serve it, like I said, with a potato of some sort, and then I will serve it with usually a green bean, like a fried green bean. Again, salt, pepper,
Yum.
onion, garlic, onion.
Fried green beans. I don't even know if I've had like do you just mean that they're cooked in a frying pan? They're not like deep
Yeah,
fried. They're
and
just
it can
cooked in a
be
frying.
snaps or whatever version of that you like. Well, I tell you, whenever I make like fresh snaps, I like to make them with soy sauce in a pan and let it reduce for a really long time. I mean, I'll let it sit for 30 minutes on low until the beans get brown in the soy sauce, and then add in onions and like strips of red onions and
Yum.
red bell pepper, and that is really good as a side with pretty much anything. I've served that with the hamburger steaks before in years past, but I just use the green bean element because that was one of my dad's favorite vegetables, and actually it's one of my husband's favorite. It is my husband's favorite vegetable, so
Oh.
pretty sure he could open up a can and just eat them out of a can.
Right out of
So
the can. Yeah, I'm guilty of that too.
yeah.
But so this dish, this hamburger steak dish, I'm sure it probably brings up all kinds of, missing your dad and so what's the ritual around when you make this and when you serve it for your family and your kids? How do you what's the
Everybody knows
ritual?
it's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it's coming. Like, well, it's Papa Luke's birthday, so I guess we're having neighborhood steak again.
I
And
love
and
that.
had I known that that was going to be the last one, we might have done something a little healthier. But no, I mean, and it's one of the times of year where I really do make something that reminds me of my childhood, and it's something that every single time I make it, I still have some of my Aunt Jenny's cooking utensils. And so, yeah, like her potato masher, I still have that bad boy, and some of her wooden spoons. And so I do think about it every time I make that meal. I think about what it meant to grow up in the country and in West Virginia and on the side of a mountain, and all of the memories of peeling the potatoes and everything that you can imagine, comes along with that, and the everything about my my Aunt Jenny and my dad, just growing up in those really heavy fat meals and sitting around
Oh,
the table. That was a time whenever we actually used to sit around the table. I mean, now I try to encourage it with my children and carry that on, but that's difficult to do.
yeah.
And, well, especially with five, just getting them to sit down at one place at one time is the
Exactly.
whole thing by itself. But, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Are they pretty good eaters, your kids? Do they pretty
uh,
much eat everything?
well, as for as many fancy things as I say fancy, but
Oh no, you're
for,
you're fancy in the kitchen.
I am pretty. I think I am fancier than most people. But yeah, they'll sit and try it. They're required to try everything, and some of it is surprising what they do and don't like, and some of it's not. So, but I've been really creative in how I sort of work the magic in the kitchen on that end. There are lots of hidden vegetables and taco meat,
Oh yes, that's a good
and
one.
lots of hidden vegetables and hamburger helper.
Mhm.
And I always
Mhm.
make hamburger helper from scratch. So,
Yum.
I say from scratch, but I mean, I home make it instead of buying it from the box, so that way I can get a little bit of extra.
I was gonna say
I
you can
don't
make
know.
more too, because like a
Yeah,
box of hamburger helper, there's
it
not that
doesn't
much
go
in
very
there.
far. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
5 children mouths to feed, 2 adult mouths to feed.
mhm,
I mean, that's that my boyfriend and I do our meal planning every
mhm.
Saturday. We sit down and plan and it's hellacious. I hate it. I hate it
Yeah,
so much.
yeah.
And it's only thinking about 2 people. And we're
Yeah.
like, that's it. So how do you plan meals for 7 mouths at a time?
So I recently just posted that on my personal page about, and I got a lot of feedback on it. They were like, oh my god, because I don't think most people that people who don't have big families don't know exactly what that looks like. And truth be told, I didn't even show everything, but it took me from about 7 o'clock in the morning until about 12:30 to do.
Yeah.
And but you have to imagine I have probably four dishes going at any one time, and I try to do four dishes every hour. And so I mean, every 45 minutes to an hour, keep it, rotating out. But, I made, I think, 8 macaroni and cheese bowls, homemade macaroni and cheese, and the portion sizes are double, so I can pop open 2 bowls and make it spread a little bit. I made 2 giant dinner size containers, enough that will feed everybody because we have large plastic bowls here. Plastic storage containers in our house are a big one, but and so and 2 huge plastic storage containers of that homemade hamburger helper. I did ham and cheese sandwiches. I probably did 5 or 6 ham and cheese sandwiches with napkins in the little bag so they can just take it and go. I did an Asian casserole. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm that person that just throws stuff in a pan and I kind of know how it's going to turn out, and it was good. It just is something I haven't made before. So I in my hindsight, I know how I would tweak it now, I guess.
Oh yeah. What was it
Say.
missing?
So it needed a creamy element, and so I needed to make a yum yum sauce to go with it, just like they serve in the Japanese steakhouses. That was kind of, so it had the squash and the zucchini in it, and it had rice, and I had fried rice in it, and I had pieces of chicken in it. But it needed a little bit of a yum yum sauce to go on top of it before serving. But so
it's the planning, and then you're in the kitchen for like what, a whole day, basically half of a whole day.
At least half of a day, but you really have to get up like at the crack of dawn to get going.
Do you have any help in the kitchen? Does your husband help you with cooking?
My husband is a wonderful cook, and he he actually used to be a chef at Ruth's Chris. So he's the steak guy. He's the meat man. He's like the ultimate grill master.
My guy too. Guys and grills.
So he can cook a mean steak. So
yum. Yeah. Well, so thank you for sharing that. I mean, meal planning is a nightmare, I think, just for anybody. But I absolutely love seeing the creations that you make for your kids and for your family, because first of all, it all looks delicious. So I cannot watch or look at your page until I'm eating.
Not frequently and without having.
And if I'm on any kind of like trying to restrict myself from like, okay, I need to watch my calories this week, I'm like, well, I'm not looking at Felicia's page because that looks delicious. Like everything you make looks so good.
Hey, I made some fruit sushi the other day
I don't want the fruit sushi, Felicia. I don't want that.
I made acai bowl, so some of it's better than others.
The thing is, you could make beautiful. You do everything that you make is fabulous and delicious, but there aren't home chefs cooking it here, so I have to go find it in a store somewhere that's been processed to death and is made with old ingredients and stabilizers and all these things that are unhealthy for a million other reasons, rather than just, okay, if I'm going to eat real butter and real fat, I want to eat the real butter and the real fat.
Yeah.
So I blame you for tempting me and then having to go back to the store with
I'll take that blame gladly. That's fine with me.
Now, I don't remember, you have to remind me here, but do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
Yeah. So how did you have wonderful parents. I can tell by the way, I remember your parents from growing up. I didn't know them. We didn't spend a lot of time at each other's houses or anything, but I know that you had really wonderful, supportive parents. I can see it in the way you talk about your dad now and this special dish that you honor him with. What are the things that they taught you that you have taken into your parenting of 5 kids?
Be a good person.
Yeah.
1000%. I mean, my dad would just be a good person, Felicia, and do it the right way the first time. So you don't have to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
And my dad was a big stickler for details and just making sure you did it the right way the first time, or else you're wasting your time. You're wasting everybody else's time. So, it sounds a little harsh, but truth be told, it's, that's the only way I'm able to survive having 5 children, is because I can think in a multitasking way that I think that you don't know how to do until you have to deal or have to care for that many other people, and you're responsible for that many other people. So that I will say that they did prepare me very well for this. So, but if you'd have told me as an only child, not having any grasp of what it means to come into or be from a very large family. And even, my extended family is not very huge. I mean, it's just 1 or 2 other, I have like 3 cousins and, Like, yeah, it's just a couple of other people. So my family is a little bit small, but if you had told me when I graduated that I was going to have 5 children plus one, and this big crazy life and start a nonprofit and do all these other things, I would have thought you were freaking crazy, like absolutely out of your mind. I mean, but what's weird though is that I will say that my dad always had these ideas of grandeur. He really was one of those people that believed that he himself and that his family was destined for very great things. And so he would say, Felicia, you're going to be a famous singer one of these days. That's what you're going to do. And
you got the goods.
Yeah,
you got them.
He's like, you're pretty enough, you sound good enough, you're going to be famous. That's what you're going to do.
And you're like, I have more important work to do. I have to raise 5 little humans and help my community.
Idea of things. So, but yeah.
Does he ever send you messages like through divine intervention? Do you ever get little twinges from your dad?
Occasionally I would say yes. And I think that for me, it's moments where I know what he would say. He would just be like, look, this is not so bad. You need to just relax. You've got a house. You've got a car. You've got 5 healthy children. Stop complaining. Like, it could be worse. When I grew up, I had to walk 3 miles in the damn snow, that type of thing. Like,
you hear that? Yeah.
He was that guy. And he just tell me about some of the wild things that would happen to him,
Well, you told me that you have some house rules that I absolutely love. Where did you come up with some of these fun house rules? Like, I happen to know that you have a rule about cursing. Can you tell me about some of the house the house rules?
Yeah. My kids' teachers are going to love this. So every Friday, because the kids were kind of getting curious about, and I'm going to just preface this with, I was never, zero times ever. I mean, not even after I was an adult and had my own children, ever allowed to say a curse word around my mother.
Oh.
And I, and the last probably 5 or 6 years after I've developed quite the amount of children, I think she just kind of let me have it. She's just like, you know what?
You burn this, baby.
I get it. Like, this is total F-bomb right here, But on Fridays, my children are allowed to say one curse word, and that's only at home, and they cannot encourage other children to say it. But they're allowed to say the word bullshit on Fridays.
That's it. That's the only curse word they're allowed to say, only on Fridays.
Because they kind of they get mad. Okay, so because bullshit's universal, and what they'll do is they'll get mad at each other, and I'm like, well, you can call them out on it now, and this is the only opportunity that you have to break it out of your system. But it used to be a rule where you could only say it in the shower on a Tuesday or something like that. Like, and that's something that my Aunt Becky taught me. She's like, you got to make clear boundaries. They can say it, sure, but only in the car on a Wednesday afternoon if we're going to the grocery store or
Your aunts have taught you important life lessons, Felicia.
My Aunt Becky is a whole nother flavor too. She's a wild lady. She is another one of those just salt of the earth. Don't mess with her kind of good-hearted woman, but don't mess with that lady.
Do they save it up? Do they save up
tall, and she weighs maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, but she's definitely one of those. You don't mess with them.
Yeah, she's a tank. Do your kids save up their bullshit for Fridays? Are they like,
oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you on Friday, Jackson. I'm gonna write it down on my list. And on Friday, we are talking about this again. And yes, Charlie especially, because he has quite the memory for things. He's probably he's a little bit more in touch with things. I want to say he's my gifted child, but he's probably my gifted child, So Charlie, he's
a thinker.
Yeah, he's a thinker, and he'll ask. I had to buy 4 Alexas to answer all that child's questions.
Oh my God.
Because I can't. I'm like, he's like, I don't want to go downstairs. I'm like, fine, I'll buy you one for your room because I can't. I cannot. I don't know how much the refrigerator weighs. Go ask Alexa.
I don't know how much the refrigerator weighs.
No idea. Don't ask me that. What is the matter with you? I'm watching Julia Child. Get off my hair. Like,
Oh my
in the
God. I
program.
love that. What do you think is the mark of a successful family unit? Like, what does it look like to you? I see, to me, if I were to look from the outside, I'm like, Felicia's family. That's what it is. That's what the perfect family looks like.
It does not look like my family because there are currently muffin crumbles on my living room floor. Okay. So
But
I
muffin
would say,
crumbles.
I would say to every other mother, especially like in the climate that we're currently in, today's mother, you have to forgive yourself for a lot. It took me a very long time. I mean, as an only child growing up, my house was never dirty. Okay. It just wasn't. I mean, I didn't make a mess. I mean, I was a girl and I wanted to have all my pretty little makeup set out and, there wasn't a mess. And then I had, my own children and dear God, and and the mess kept getting worse the more children you have. So it's like, now that everybody's home all the time, I'm like, oh God. I think that the most important thing to remember, I used to think it was organization. I used to think that that's organization, but it's a twofold thing. It's teamwork with your partner. And if you don't have a partner, then you must be a powerhouse of a lady or a
Yeah. Yeah.
person. And then otherwise it's just forgiveness for yourself. And the thing that I think I make the most priority in my home, the ultimate focus, is that my children feel loved, that they have all of the encouragement to be exactly who they are. And I have very wildly different personalities too, so it's kind of nutty to try to
To manage all those.
keep,
Yeah.
yeah, to keep up with everybody. But now, I mean, that they all feel this really deep sense of mom's got me. Dad,
Yeah.
if nothing else, I have my rock unit, my home unit, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And no matter what. And I think that's important. And I have that relationship with my mother and with my dad. I had it with my dad where I remember growing up, I just remember thinking my mom was a saint. And my dad would tell me that. He's like, your mom's a saint. Don't you ever do anything bad to her. Don't you ever sass her. She is a saint. Like and she really was, and she still is. And then my dad, I just remember thinking he was the biggest man in the world. Like he was just like the biggest, he's a great big strong dude. And for me, it's just having that solid foundation, and like I've given you enough encouragement in life to know that you're supported.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It doesn't matter what happens in the world, and you need to be that way to other people. And
I
that's what I
love
do.
that.
Yeah.
It's so I can see it. I'm not even there. I could see it. I could see it in the few moments before we got started on our show today. I got to see some interaction with your kids, and I could just see it and feel it. And I think that you're remarkable because for so many reasons, but I think it's challenging for parents of one or two kids to stay in this patient, loving space, and you do it joyfully. I see the joy. I think that you love getting to be these kids' moms, and
I do.
and not just your own kids,
I
but
really do. We live for that here. We really do.
oh yeah, it's a joy, and I know that it's not just your own children. I think that you extend that love to everybody. I know Peyton's a big figure in your life. This I don't know the full story with Peyton,
Yeah.
but I know she spends a lot of time with your family.
She does. She's a very good family friend. And I think that the best way to explain that relationship would be it's kind of like going to your grandma's house or your crazy aunt. Okay. I'm the crazy aunt for her. Like and everybody in the neighborhood calls me Mama Fee.
Yeah.
So, and the neighbors, even the ones that are older than me, call me Mama Fee.
I love it.
So, some of my group members are like, yeah, go Mama V, so, but that's what all the kids call me. And that's what, so I'm kind of like that crazy aunt to her. And she just loves that.
It's those crazy aunts are so
charisma.
important. I had a Mama Fee in my life. She was more not as fun as you are, like in the way. But you make an effort to bring joy into your kid's life. She was the one that fed me and nourished my belly when my family unit is complicated. We all have complicated family units, but
We do.
yeah, you just don't know how much someone needs a Mama Fee. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're out there being mamas for everybody out there. And for me, because I get to pretend that you're my mama too.
I know. And you come in, you're like, can I come live with you? I'm like, baby, you come home from Beverly Hills. I'll take care of you.
Please. Well, I could keep talking forever, but we are getting a
You know
little
it.
tight on time. And so I want to get to our last question, our last sort of segment of the day, which is, what's your dream dinner? If you could have anything in the world with any person in the world from any time in the world, what would you have for dinner tonight?
So that's a loaded question. um, I, well, I think that all of the food that I make it with all of the elements that I think are delicious, and I kind of load everything up and crisp all the edges and butter all of the things, and so I serve myself well. But if I were going to be having sort of a dream dinner, I would think that I mean, I've never had a Michelin dinner. I've never had a Michelin class service. So I would say that's where I would go. I would love to be I would love to have a Michelin level dinner. I mean, I've just never had one before. And so um I also think that if I were going to eat with anyone, I don't know why, but I would love to meet Helen Mirren.
Oh, okay. You just painted like such a good dream night. Dinner with Helen Mirren at a Michelin rated restaurant. Felicia, you win the dream dinner. You win the dream dinner. This is it. Now, what about those dreams of singing? Do you ever dream of singing? What's the dream for
No.
you, Felicia?
I do a lot in the shower. It definitely I think my best pastime is probably karaokeing.
Ooh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
aside from my golden days in choir. But yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot of singing around the house. I actually do a lot of singing for the children, and a lot of their little we'll make up little songs and things like that. But
Oh my God, I love it so much.
yeah.
Oh, Felicia, I'm
Oh,
so happy to have this time to catch up with you. I'm so grateful for the stories
you
that
as
you
well.
shared with us.
Thank
I
you.
really love hearing about hamburger steak and your connection to your papa. And
Thanks.
I would love to have your hamburger steak someday. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? I didn't ask you, and this is, forgive me because I know we're trying to close out here, but is hamburger steak different from Salisbury steak?
Okay, so Salisbury steak is like it's a cut of meat that you pound out, and it's all still connected.
Oh, okay.
And I actually for now for some I want to say it's just like a chuck roast that is pounded out. I could be wrong about that, but and I think it's just pounded out, and they usually use like a meat hammer with it,
Hmm.
and like a jagged edged part of the meat hammer until it's really really very flat and thin, and then you can either coat it in there's plenty of ways to do it, but you can coat it in a a batter or something and then fry it or not. But hamburger steak is literally just hamburger meat, and it's just nice and simple. It really is. And I like to use hamburger meat for that because it has a little bit more fat in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So whenever I have drippings, I can use it in my gravy. I can transfer some drippings over to my green beans, and you know what I mean. And so bring in just multiple level because I mean, once you have like something a cooked layer of salt, pepper, and garlic, it gives it a little bit of a a depth to it, even if it's just a simple just the salt, pepper, garlic. When you add that to the green beans, even though that's the same flavor profile, it adds just still a little bit more depth to it. I
Yeah.
mean, even if it's a
Yum.
full country dish, it still gives it that extra like oomph, you
Simple
know?
country does not mean not flavorful.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's full.
one more question. So we've got hamburger steak, which is the ground beef, Salisbury steak, which is like a pounded out cut of meat, and then
Mhm.
you've got chicken fried steak.
Mhm.
What's chicken fried steak?
So the chicken fried steak is going to be more of the pounded out piece of meat that is coated in a batter and fried like that. There's Salisbury steak is served with a gravy that is more gelatinous and more clear, and they use a beef flavoring for that, as where with a hamburger steak or a chicken fried steak, you would use a mill gravy, or at least that's the difference for me. That's in
Okay,
my area. That's what it would be. That's the difference.
and we now know what a mill gravy is, thanks to you,
Yeah,
Mama P.
yeah. That's a good old. You can put that on biscuits in the morning. It's the same thing as like sausage gravy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but without sausage. So I mean, but God love a duck. You could eat that on anything. You could eat it on ice cream. I swear.
I made
Or
I
at least
made
me. I could.
Oh, no, I'm with you 100%. I'm like, yeah,
That's
actually, I'm sitting there
good.
going, that would probably actually
Put it
taste
on
pretty good.
toast in the morning. I'll take a basic mill gravy. I'll mix it up with some chipped beef and make a basic chipped beef gravy out of it. I mean, like I said, you can add sausage to it. Sausage makes it delightful. Hamburger makes it delightful. I'm telling you, anything with mill gravy is just
Yeah.
freaking good.
Fat, salt, acid, heat,
Yeah,
put them together.
I
Delicious. Oh
know.
my
I know
gosh.
it.
I got to make for the first time ever, my boyfriend who was born and raised in Beverly Hills, like
Mhm.
90210 Beverly Hills,
Oh,
right? Okay.
yeah.
He's like, "What's biscuits and gravy?" And I'm
Oh
like,
God.
"Okay.
Oh.
Hold on." I'm like, so I'm not I'm really I'm just learning to cook like recently. So I made biscuits, homemade biscuits for the first time myself. Thank you to Chrissy Teigen. Bless you for giving me that recipe. Smack your mama in the mouth. Oh my God. That's why the things that I miss about Virginia, I have to be honest, besides some friendships that, I maintain over the years, thank God for social media, but the food has a real special place in my heart. It's
Yeah,
particularly some of the soul food, like,
I know it.
biscuits and gravy, fried chicken. It's,
Apparently, Virginia is also one of the only places that has the white ranchero dip. Did you read about
for,
that?
oh my God, Virginia and Texas.
Yes,
It does not exist out here. Like,
it
try to
doesn't
go.
exist anywhere else.
It's
That
maddening
was
because I'm like, I
not a thing
want
I
queso.
knew. I
I want
know.
queso, queso dip, like the queso dip. And then I get
Yes,
some abomination of some yellow with salsa in it
not
thing. And
the
I'm like,
same thing.
that is not, that is
That's
not what I'm
not
looking
it.
for. Yeah. So
They got to
Texas
get with
does
the
it right.
program over there. That's
Exactly. And
great.
do you know how to make that?
Yeah. So there are some things that will go great with me. I
Oh,
can
go
do.
to the grave with you. Oh yeah, no, yeah, take it. That makes sense. Yeah. That's one that I
I
wouldn't.
could do a thing or two like that for sure, but it's probably not as delicious as it sounds. It more comes from processed cheese that
Oh yeah, the
use
bad stuff.
the right brand.
The place that I love in Midlothian, there's this place called El Paso, the
Oh
restaurant
yeah.
that they have the white, is it called queso, right? Or what's it
Well,
called?
there's two kinds, and they have a queso, and they have a ranchero dip,
Ranch.
and
Okay, yeah.
it's like a spicy ranch
Mhm.
that's just. I mean, I don't even know, and it's sweet. It's sweet and spicy. When you first eat it, it's sweet, and then it's spicy. And you're like, oh dang!
Yeah.
Like I kind of regret eating this a little bit. It's a little spicy on the back end, but yeah. So I mean, either one of those white dips, I just don't know if they have them anywhere else. This is the new thing to me. I had no
They
idea.
don't have it out here. I'm
Yeah,
guarantee you, especially not in Beverly Hills where it's like really you're looking for green juice. That's what everybody's looking
that's
for.
what it's.
Like, I want some biscuits and gravy.
I
So
know. I'm just sitting here thinking like how much reach my hamburger steak interview here is going to have out there in Beverly
oh,
Hills.
I mean, it's the best ever because I think people don't know what's so good about comfort food is
Mm,
yes, there's fat and yes, there's salt and yes, there's lard. And we know that going into it. It's not trying
right.
to be anything else.
But
It
if
is
you only have it once a year, you know what
yeah.
I mean? This is kind of like Christmas in June, you
Oh,
know? It's like a little tiny middle of the year treat. And
I
there's
can't
another
say
thing.
that I only have it once a year because I like
I,
butter.
that's kind of a high fat meal. I don't usually prepare something quite like that, although I'm sure there's other things that are just as fattening that I make that I'm not realizing it's got quite the same content in it. But and another thing, have you ever had pineapple casserole?
No,
Pineapple cheddar casserole?
no. What's that?
Girl, just
Pineapple
Google the pineapple cheddar casserole. That's
cheddar.
got that okay, it's got like 3 sticks of butter in it, and it's like a bread pan. Okay, so it's just a lot of butter. I mean, well, it's probably not 3 sticks. It might be like one and a half. And then Ritz crackers. I'm telling you, this sounds disgusting.
Yes, yes. No, no.
The,
I'm on board so far.
the
Butter, Ritz
ingredients
crackers.
list sounds totally bizarre, and I promise you, it's worth every freaking cent of the ingredients you spend in it because my mother-in-law made it one time for a dinner that I had over at her house, and I did the same thing. I asked her, I'm like, "Are you sure that's what you put in this?" That's what she did. She had, but it's like crushed pineapple. I think
Oh
there's some
no.
pineapple chunks that you do, and then it's butter and it's crunched up Ritz crackers, and you kind of just mix it all together. And of course, you know me, I'm like full fat, and I'm like, let's add some heavy cream,
Yes.
and so I
Yes.
always add a little bit of that to everything. I think, yeah. So and I mix it around, and it's just and cheddar cheese, like sharp shredded, like by hand
Oh my
shredded
God, that's
cheddar cheese. And when you taste it, it's like that salt and the savory and the sweet of the pineapple. You know how like whenever you have like a Christmas dip where it's the cream cheese and you get the pepper jelly and like a little
yeah,
cracker, and it has that same kind of flavor profile to it,
yeah,
except it's a freaking casserole. It's
right.
delightful.
Oh yeah,
Like
no, I'm on
yeah.
board for all this. Cheese, anything that's like cheese that you mix with like a fruit, that's I'm kind of new to the posh world of like, oh, your pear and your brie but the
Yeah.
fruit and cheese, I get it now. I get it. I'm
Yeah.
on board. I get it.
It's
It's
good.
yeah, very good.
Very good.
Wow. Well, thank you for taking that detour with me. I'm so excited to learn about pineapple cheddar casserole. It's amazing.
Well,
And all the things. And don't worry, someday I'll check back in with you for that ranchero queso dip recipe.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to do that off record.
Okay, it's that time in the program where we get to hear from you all, our listeners. So this week, I asked the question, what's your favorite comfort food? Everything that Felicia has been talking about really makes me think of all my favorite Southern comfort dishes. So let's hear from you all. What are your favorite comfort foods? And bonus points if they are Southern comfort dishes.
Hey, so I just wanted to say I'm absolutely loving this podcast. My name is Lauren, and I'm calling from Virginia, and my favorite Southern comfort food is cornbread. Keep up the awesome work. I'm loving listening. Bye.
Hello, my name is Stephanie, and I'm from Virginia. My favorite Southern comfort food is mac and cheese.
Hello, my name is Kat, and I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and my all-time favorite Southern comfort food is fried chicken. Your show is awesome. Bye.
Yes, those were all great answers. I love every single food that you all mentioned. I heard a lot of Southern foods in there, so thank you to my Virginia friends for calling in. Great stuff. Okay, don't forget, if you want to hear your voice featured on the podcast or share some thoughts or stories with us, you can do that anytime. Just call 626-709-6551 and leave us a voicemail. There's usually a prompt every week, and you can either answer that prompt or you can just tell us what you like about the podcast or any of your favorite stories. The point is, we want to hear from you. And if you don't want to hear your voice, you can always write into the show. Just shoot us an email at dearfoodpodcast@gmail.com. All right, thank you so much for being here with us today, Felicia. And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're loving Dear Food, make sure you subscribe for free on Apple Podcasts and share this episode with a friend while you're at it. We love sharing, right? Sharing is caring. Okay, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you right back here for the next episode.